Tonight to the Florida lawmaker who is now reacting to an I-Team investigation earlier this week. Investigative reporter Katie Legrone uncovered some school districts are not counting COVID-19 cases involving some of its students. And tonight that lawmaker is demanding change.
I think it's irresponsible of us if we're not counting all cases.
Florida Representative Chevron Jones reacts to a recent discovery we made that shows some Florida school districts are not including all positive COVID cases involving their students and staff.
The last thing we need here in Florida is to lie about our numbers.
We revealed how several school districts are excluding the number of students and staff members who test positive after being quarantined from campus.
The school considered him an at-home case.
This Polk County mom still can't get a straight answer on whether her son's case will be included in the district's totals. Her son was quarantined because of a case at his high school. A few days later, he tested positive. A district spokesperson told us unless the student had close contact with others on campus and the health department determined further quarantines are necessary, students and staff members who test positive while in seclusion are not included in the school's total count of cases. Same in Leon County and in Miami-Dade County, where high caseload has forced the delay of brick-and-mortar schools for another few weeks.
That's the direction that Miami-Dade County School is looking to go to. I really hope that they reconsider.
Jones represents parts of South Florida, where Broward County schools and Palm Beach schools are among the districts who told us they do include the number of individuals who test positive while in quarantine from school.
We have this total inconsistency of how we are tracking COVID, how we reporting COVID, and it should not be this difficult.
Jones believes the bigger problem rests with the state. To date, Florida's Department of Health has yet to make the number of school cases public, leaving districts to post their own numbers using their own guidelines.
The leaders at the top, they have to begin to give direction that trickles down to the 67 counties into these school districts so they can get direction. If no one has direction, everyone's going to do what they want to do, and that's what's happening right now.
Despite the governor's promise to make school case numbers public, it remains unclear tonight when the State Department of Health will carry out his directive.
For the first time, daily school logs are revealing just how difficult it is for schools to track the coronavirus on campus.
These school district spreadsheets expose the realities of what schools are dealing with on a daily basis while trying to educate students in the classroom during a pandemic.
It's challenging. We had no idea what to expect.
The reports provided to us by 4 school districts through a public records request are daily logs submitted to Florida's Department of Education detailing confirmed cases of COVID-19 on campus and its impact.
Every day is a challenge.
In Okeechobee County, the district's population is small, just 6,400 across 10 schools. But daily COVID logs to the State Department of Education show small isn't immune to virus challenges. Take the teachers who test but don't tell until days later when the results are positive.
If there's any kind of miscommunication, then that just kind of could hamper what we're trying to do.
Or the positive student whose doctor, according to school logs, never told his parents to keep him home or even contact the school. That one student forced 30 to be quarantined.
We literally go through each class period. We go through bus rosters. We just try to make sure we're not overdoing it, but we don't want to underdo it either and then lead to more sweeping.
Daily temperature checks, constant monitoring, and seating charts have helped overall numbers stay low in the district.
We don't want to have one person be responsible for sending home 100 students or staff or anything like that. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
Which is exactly what happened within the first week of school in St. Lucie County. Football teams at 2 schools impacted.
All of those players were quarantined for 14 days, and many of the coaches as well. There were no additional positive cases from either one of those.
In Pinellas County, one student case also impacted the school's football team. 41 students quarantined. In Polk County, a teacher's case forced more than 120 to be quarantined. As school district leaders, their biggest challenge:
just make sure that we're getting it right.
Less than half of St. Lucie's district student population is back on campus. As of last week, it reported 35 positive student cases, with 480 total students quarantined since day one. That is what they know about. Like any district, if the coronavirus has taught nothing else on campus, it's that trust is everything.
I have to protect, and each one of us have to protect our children and our staff members. And so we have to be very, very honest, very trusting, and very, and tell it like it is.
Meanwhile, our I-Team has found some school districts are seeing more school nurses leaving.
And I-Team investigator Katie Legrone shows us how the pandemic is playing a role and what districts are doing to fill in the gaps.
They are the first line of defense against student illness and the spread of sickness at schools. But across the state, school nurses are still in high demand, and in some cases, even shorter supply.
School nurse shortages are nothing new, not here in Florida or anywhere else across the country. But with the number of COVID cases now on the rise, some Florida school districts are dealing with a double whammy. More cases, fewer school nurses.
In Manatee County, over the first 10 weeks of school, a dozen school nurses have left, more than 10% of the district's nursing staff.
It's more than we would like.
In Pinellas County, 13 school nurses are now gone. And in Palm Beach County, 43 school nurses have retired, resigned, or took a leave of absence since the beginning of the school year.
Every year, districts lose school nurses.
Catherine Burge is a school nurse in Hillsborough County and president-elect of Florida's Association of School Nurses.
The numbers don't surprise me. They're probably a little bit higher this school year.
According to the most current statewide data, which is 10 days old, Florida's health department is reporting more than 1,300 COVID-19 cases on school campuses. While schools are largely proving not to be the super spreader sites some feared, schools short on nurses are finding it difficult to recruit amid the ongoing pandemic. For the first time, Pinellas County schools are relying on nursing agencies to fill the void while we look for a permanent replacement, according to a district spokesperson. In Miami-Dade, which recently reopened its brick-and-mortar option to students, the district is also working with staffing agencies, posting online an immediate need for a full-time, part-time, and per diem school nurses.
You're never going to have one RN in every school, although that is our goal. 2 schools, 3 schools is where we're all about sitting right now.
With some school nurses now being forced to cover more school ground, and the district's eager to find them some relief.
We've been able to replace the majority of those, but we're still looking for 5 more positions to fill. So if you know anybody out there that's looking for a position as a school nurse, send them to us.
6 weeks after most Florida schools opened their campuses to students, our I-Team has discovered hundreds of teachers around the state are still leaving, and we're just halfway into the first semester. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamison Euler, anchoring from home tonight.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thank you for joining us. The I-Team's Katie Legrone has the numbers and the impact on your child's classroom.
All summer long, I thought that I was going back.
I used to think I was going to be a lifer.
They are Florida teachers who believe the mix of COVID in the classroom left them with no other choice but to flee from campus.
I wanted to make the decision that I felt was right for me.
For the past 3 years, Carolina Tave was deemed a highly effective elementary school teacher in Pinellas County. This year, she resigned just days before classes began.
I started hearing what was, the conditions under which I would have to work, and I didn't think that those conditions were optimal, were safe.
After spending 6 weeks trying to teach both in-person and virtual to special ed students in St. Johns County, Danielle Raposa decided to leave last Friday.
I was doing about 12 conferences a day in a 7.5-hour time span and expected to make miracles happen.
For the past month, we've combed through school district records around the state, seeking the number of teachers who have resigned, retired, or took a leave of absence since the start of school. We found hundreds. In St. Lucie County, 36 teachers dropped out halfway into the first semester, double the number this time last year. In Orange County, 118 teachers are gone, a 25% increase from this time last year. And in Hillsborough County, a district spokesperson told us they have 100 more teachers on leave right now versus a year ago. Not an unusual pattern, a district spokesperson told us in an email, adding they're not concerned.
It is not normal at all.
But the president of the state's teachers union is concerned. While there are various reasons why teachers leave in the middle of a semester, Florida's union points to the state's mandate to reopen campuses during a pandemic.
We know right now that school districts have massive shortages. They had it before COVID. It's been increased under COVID.
But by how much isn't known. The union, which has a pending lawsuit against the state for forcing in-person instruction, typically tracks teacher shortage numbers, but hasn't been able to get a reliable count this year. In Pinellas County, a district spokesperson reports 32 openings for both instructional and non-instructional staff. And search teacher on Palm Beach County's district website, and you'll get more than 850 job listings. Danielle and Carolina have moved on.
I do not regret the decision that I made under the current conditions.
Both now work for the state-run Florida Virtual School after hoping to make the classroom work, but realizing this year the risks versus rewards.
You can only do so much.
We reached out to Florida's Department of Education for statewide numbers and any new efforts to try and reduce these separations during the school year, but have yet to hear anything back.
Florida's education boss just revealed schools still have hundreds of millions of dollars in CARES Act money to spend months after they were given the funds. So we wanted to know why they haven't spent it. I-Team investigator Katie Legrone is getting answers and discovers the education commissioner's words may be a bit misleading.
During a press conference with the governor earlier this week, Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran disclosed there's $500 million in CARES Act funding Florida schools have yet to spend.
We still have, I want to say, almost $500 million in unspent CARES funds for the districts. $500 million.
Which sounds like more than 100 days after being awarded the money, districts have collectively spent a fraction of the nearly $700 million allocated to them for products, services, and people needed to educate students amid an ongoing health crisis.
They're going to be able to plug those holes.
In fact, this spreadsheet provided to us by Florida's Department of Education shows nearly all school districts in the state have spent less than half its allotted dollars, with the majority still holding on to at least 75% of its CARES Act funds. Some have yet to spend a dime, according to the state.
It looks like school districts are really slow to spend this money.
It appears that way, but I will assure you that we are not.
This week, Pasco County Superintendent Kurt Browning found himself defending his district's spending habits, or lack thereof. Of the $14.5 million in CARES Act dollars Pasco schools received, the state shows the district has only withdrawn $2.5 million.
They'll say, you know, you got to spend that money. You got to spend that money. And we're going, well, we are spending the money.
The problem, Browning says, is a rule that requires districts front the money, spend it, and only then ask the state for the reimbursements.
Why wouldn't you just give us the $14.6 million? I mean, it's not like we're going to go to Tahiti on this.
In Lee County, according to the state, the district has spent less than 10% of its $22 million. But a school spokesperson said they're waiting for another $3.5 million in reimbursements. Same in Miami-Dade, the state's largest school district, awarded the largest cash flow of CARES Act dollars. On paper, the district has withdrawn less than 1% of its $120 million pot. But according to a district spokesperson, another $20 million is in the reimbursement pipeline.
We had the plan, so there really was no reason to sit.
Only a handful of school districts have spent most of their allotted funds. To date, Charlotte County Schools, a small district, awarded just over $3 million, has spent 70% of it, the largest percentage of any school district.
The less you have, the faster it goes. There's no question about that.
Some districts that appear to be slow spenders point to shifting priorities and changes in other funding for the spending delay.
We've probably spent more on PPE than I will tell you than we've ever had budgeted.
Still, Superintendent Kurt Browning remains concerned what looks like shy spending on paper could cost schools in the long run.
Legislators are looking at the amount of CARES dollars that aren't being spent yet. They're going to say, well, if you have $500 million sitting here, why do you need more money?
While some government agencies have until the end of this year to spend their CARES Act dollars, school districts have until the end of 2022 to spend the money. I'm I-Team investigator Katie Legrone, taking action for you.